Yankees finish up their home regular season schedule against the Baltimore Orioles. They lose the series. But more importantly and unfortunately, Aaron Judge is still stuck on 61 home runs. I did go to the Friday night game against Jordan Lyles. And, as it kind of turns out, I guess that was kind of Judge's best game of the three, where Judge was able to get a hit. He went 1 for 2 with a couple of walks, but unfortunately, no dice. And so it won't happen in New York. And it was tough for a couple of reasons. I mean, just the pressure of doing it in front of the fans. And the weather was really not great, really all weekend, especially the last game. And I feel like the last game, you could tell the Judge was kind of feeling it, where, I think for a while it's been a situation of, Judge, just working with what he's given and, not a whole lot. Whereas I think he was trying to make things happen in the last game, maybe because it was the last home game, but, 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts and a walk. And as far as the batting title goes, it's going to be tough. And unfortunately, the Twins, they've been sitting Luis Ariz. It's been kind of lame that they've been doing that. But I think, Ariz is now, I think about like 4 points out of Judge. Yeah, so it can turn, but I think that's a little unlikely. But now we see what happens in Texas. So Judge has 4 games, maybe 3 because there's a doubleheader. Maybe they decide to not go Judge. That'll be a tough call where, the good thing is the Yankees will have, 5 days. What is it? Yeah, 5 days off until the ALDS. So that's where things kind of work in their favor if they really wanted to play Judge. But, I'm hopeful that Judge will get it done. But, hey, we've reached a point now where it's not definite. We've reached a point now where he's still, he's at 61, 1 away from breaking the record. And that's really the main thing going into this series. Win-loss really isn't a big thing. The Yankees are 97-62. Yeah, 97-61. 4 games to go. If they do go 3-1, they will hit that 100 win mark. It's not important to them, and really it shouldn't be that important to really anyone other than it's a nice round number. But we'll see if they're able to hit that mark. I say that they'll probably end up at like 99, maybe 100. But I mean, the reason why it could happen is that the pitchers that are going are basically their main guys. It'll be Severino, Tyone, Cole, Herman. So that is normal. But everything else, the way they use the bullpen, the lineups might not be. And that's really where we're at right now. Is injuries have really taken a major role, especially in the bullpen, where Clay Holmes, we will not see Clay Holmes until at earliest the division series. So he's still on the roster. They didn't put him on the IL, but Clay Holmes, did they say it was a shoulder? I think they might have said it was a shoulder injury for Clay. And so, he hadn't pitched since, the first game of the Blue Jays series. And so it turns out that he, is dealing with something. So that's somewhat questionable. Zach Britton is done. I'm almost positive that I was in person for Zach Britton's last moments as a Yankee. Wasn't very pretty. He just couldn't find it. And I'm not surprised. Zach Britton, he looks the same as he did in 2021, which isn't a good thing. He can't find the strike zone. Similar to Aroldis Chapman. Aroldis Chapman really struggled in the last game of the series. I think if you're the Yankees, I don't really care what the situation is. Aroldis Chapman should not be on it. It's a waste of a spot. And if he's on it, they're not going to pitch him in any big situations, which is a relief. But then why even have him on the roster? So Britton on the IL, done, and Chapman hanging around. Marinaccio with a shin injury doesn't seem that concerning, but they took him out, midstream. So you never love to see that. And it's apparently something that he's been dealing with, but Marinaccio leaves. And, the Yankees, I think Miguel Castro returns during this Texas series. Wandy will not be back in the Texas series, but he should be good to go for the LDS. So there's a lot of – it's really tough to say. Everything's in flux, especially in the bullpen. I mean, it feels like there's a lot of names, but, not that many that are healthy. So that'll be very interesting to see. Plus, on the offensive side, DJ LeMahieu returns, but will DJ be on the playoff roster? I think that remains to be seen as well, where it's just not the same DJ that we've seen when he's fully healthy. So it sounds like Matt Carpenter will return in the division series. I guess is about up the bench. The main theme here is that there's a lot unknown, and so I think more so, and this is what we saw in the series. The 2 games they lost, it was experimenting. Now, look, the offense in games 1 and 3 in the series were not very good, but they were trying to experiment, and look, it didn't really work out in some cases, but maybe that's for the best. Maybe that's for the best to see some of these things not work out and not be tempted. So, let's dive into it real quick. Again, the play-by-play in these games doesn't matter that much, but for the sake of consistency, and look, these are games that count. Even though there isn't really a whole lot on the line, let's talk about it. So, first inning, Domingo Germán gets into trouble. It was a pretty good start for Germán. First inning was a bit problematic, and then when he left, there was some walks, but overall, a strong. That's what it's been for Germán. It's been pretty consistent, pretty strong outings, and I think we'll see him, in a bullpen role in the playoffs, and one in which there could be some big outs to be had there. I wouldn't be shocked if Germán finds himself in some key spots. I don't think it's going to be strictly mop-up, but also don't expect him to be starting. He is like your number 5 starter right now, as I see it. So there's a Ryan Mountcastle RBI single, which kind of happened out of, there was a leadoff walk to Cedric Mullins, and then Mullins stole second and went to third on the throwing error by Trevino, and then Mountcastle knocks him in. So that makes it 1-0. Aaron Judge strikes out in his first at-bat. Again, I was at this game. And both games I went to this year were very low scoring. A 1-0 Yankee win against the Cubs, and then a 2-1 loss to the Orioles here. So Germán, starts to settle in, does a good job. In the third inning, Aaron Judge gets a single with 2 out. Then in the 5th, Oswaldo Cabrera homers. And Oswaldo Cabrera has really been so much fun to watch. And it's his 5th homer of the year. And he's just really settled in. He's going to be in that lineup, and deservedly so. He will be in the starting lineup in the playoffs. And what an unlikely story that is. Not Oswald Peraza. Oswaldo Cabrera would find himself in the situation. He's really been one of the bright spots down the stretch. So Cabrera ties it up at 1. But then in the 6th, Germán gets into some walk problems, and he leaves with 2nd and 3rd, 1 out. And they bring Zach Britton in. He walks the lefty Gunnar Henderson. And then while he's facing Jesus Aguilar, there's a wild pitch which scores a run, and he's taken out right there. They called it left arm fatigue. To me, it seemed like a fake injury. I'm just going to say it. It seemed fake. And so he's out. Marinaccio comes on and gets out of the jam. So good job by Ron Marinaccio to hold it at 1. Aaron Judge gets a leadoff walk on the 6th, but then the next 3 guys strike out. Jordan Lyles really pitched well for the Orioles in this game. He pitched deep into the game too. So Aroldis Chapman comes on in the 8th, and on this night he actually does okay. Not dominant, but doesn't give up a run. And then the bottom of the 8th, the Yankees get their best chance. Kiner left the singles. He steals 2nd, which was kind of interesting with Judge looming soon. Felix Bautista came in, and Trevino struck out. And Bautista was kind of hurt. It seemed like it was like a lower body issue with Bautista during the Judge at bat. Eventually, they intentionally walked Judge. It was 3-0. The fans were upset, but look, it is what it is. And then Rizzo strikes out, and then Glaber lines out. So there was a chance there for Glaber to tie the game up, and that was really the main hope for, more so than like the Yankees winning the game, but was to see Judge bat again. You kind of needed the Yankees to tie it up, and they came close with Glaber, but it didn't happen. Scott Effross comes on in the 9th, does a pretty good job. I think he'll have a pretty key role in the bullpen come playoff time. And then DL Hall, the lefty, gets the Yankees out pretty quickly. Stanton, Marlon Gonzalez, who had come in for DJ LeMahieu, that was planned. And then Oswaldo Cabrera strikes out. And the Orioles win game 1, 2-1. We go to game 2, and I should have named this guy by now in this episode. Nestor Cortez. Wow. Goes 1 hit, 7 1/3. No runs, 2 walks, 12 strikeouts. He should be your game 1 starter. 2.44 ERA for Nestor Cortez this season. His regular season is done. But just amazing. 163 strikeouts and 158 innings. A .92 whip. He's just been flat out unbelievable after he was really good last year. He was excellent for the Yankees in 2021 and followed it up with an even better 2022. Um, honestly, deserves to be, he will get some Cy Young votes. Will it be top 5? I guess probably not, but Nestor Cortez is the Yankees' best starting pitcher. You can't tell me otherwise. I'm sorry. If I need someone to win a ball game, I'm going with Nestor over Garrett Cole, which is going to lead into another conversation more so after next episode when we kind of dip into what the ALDS might look like and sort of the rotation of things. But, I have a bad feeling that Garrett Cole's going to start game 1 and Cortez will start game 2. We'll talk about the implications of that at a later date. But Cortez, amazing. Just fantastic. Jacob Barnes takes the roster spot of Britton and actually comes in relief in this game. And then Chichi Gonzalez takes the roster spot of Jacob Barnes. Yes, these are names that won't be any factor at all come playoff time, but as of now, they are needed. And they actually both did a pretty good job for what it's worth. But Cortez, just amazing against the Orioles. And the Yankees score 3 runs in the first. Judge is actually hit by a pitch. And you get a Gleyber Torres RBI double, a Josh Donaldson sacrifice fly, and then Giancarlo Stanton, which was good to see. Stanton homers, his 29th homer of the year, gives the Yankees a 3-0 lead right there. Then in the second, Kyle Higashioka homers. So Higgy has been hitting the ball well too, to the point where if Higgy had to start, a playoff game, all right. Whereas, I like Trevino more, but if we're being fair about things, Higgy really has picked it up. The gap has definitely gotten a bit tighter between the two catchers, but Trevino, and I'm happy about it. Trevino is definitely the clear starter. So it's 4-0 Yanks at this point. And Cortez just doing amazing. In the 5th, he finally gives up his only hit to Jorge Mateo. Oswald Peraza was the shortstop. A nice, sort of try, a leap, but Mateo with the base hit. So the score is still 4-0 at this point. And then the Yankees are able to break it open in the 7th. A Gleyber Torres RBI single, Josh Donaldson 2-run single, and an RBI double for Harrison Bader. So there was a Judge walk. Again, Judge in this one, not a whole lot to work with. Yankees take an 8-0 lead. Cortez comes, strikes out Mullins, and then gets a really nice standing ovation by the fans. And then Jacob Barnes finishes it out. Yankees win at 8-0. They do a nice job against Austin Voth of the Orioles and Spencer Watkins. So the Yankees win 8-0. And then game 3, similar to game 1, where the Yankees offense really doesn't get a whole lot going. And they lose it. There's some, again, experimentation going on, really where Zach Britton kind of lost you game 1, or Aroldis Chapman lost you game 3. And these are things that wouldn't have normally happened. If the Yankees really needed the wins, these are not things that would have happened. But look, you have to figure this shit out. So game 3, Chichi Gonzalez does give up a run in the first inning, but that'd be all that he'd give up. And he's had a rapport before with Trevino. They go way back. Even before the majors, I believe, that there's history there, and they were together in Texas. But Ryan Mountcastle, similar to the first game of the series, gets an RBI hit to get things going, gives the Orioles a 1-0 lead. The Yankees would have some chances in this one. The second inning, in fact, Aaron Hicks is up with the bases loaded, 1 out, strikes out. Look, Aaron Hicks, unfortunately, is going to get some run in the playoffs. He won't start, but he'll get in there, I feel like, at times. And then Aaron Judge strikes out with the bases loaded. So it stays 1-0 Orioles. Then in the 5th, Chichi Gonzalez, is relieved by Lucas Licky, and Licky does a pretty good job. And Licky is one that I don't think would have normally had a role on the postseason roster, and I'm still not sure that he'll definitely make it. But with all the injuries and stuff, and he's been a pretty solid contributor, it might make sense for him to be kind of one of those final spots on the roster. But in the 5th, couple of walks, Hicks and Judge. Then there's a wild pitch where Hicks goes to third. They try to throw Judge out at second. The ball goes into center field, and then Hicks comes around to score. That's the Yankee 1 run that they get. And so that ties it up at 1. And then let's go to the 7th. In the 6th, some bad, not great base running by Harrison Bader, where on second and third, 1 out, Trevino lines out to second, and they throw Bader out at third. But again, these games aren't that important win-loss wise. So Aroldis Chapman comes in, and it's just bad. It's an infield single, bad luck there. But then it's a walk, another walk, a lucky strikeout against Mountcastle. It wasn't a strike. And then he walks Gunnar Henderson, and that's all for Aroldis Chapman. I mean, for me, I really don't want to see him again, but we probably will see him at least in the Texas series. But so that's 2-1. And then Marinaccio comes on. There's a sac fly by Austin Hayes, makes it 3-1. And then Brian Baker comes on and really was very impressive. He strikes out the side, Judge included in the 7th. Marinaccio is replaced in the 8th inning unexpectedly with the shin injury. Loizia comes on, finishes out the 8th. A couple more strikeouts for Baker in the bottom of the 8th. Then Clark Schmidt pitches the top of the 9th. Does a pretty good job there. And then Dylan Tate, the former Yankee prospect, who was actually traded for Zach Britton, pitches a 1-2-3 9th inning. And so the Yankees' home regular season schedule ends. And it was a really good home stretch this year. They were excellent at home. One of my reasons for why I think that they can survive the LDS, but I think that if they play the Astros in the CS, they'll have trouble. I know there's a lot more that goes into it. Like, could they lose the LDS with home field advantage? Yes. Could they win the LCS without home field advantage? Also, yes. But Yankee Stadium was very kind to the Yankees this year. So now we go to Texas, and the matchups are pretty normal. Considering it's a last series of the season, sometimes you see weird stuff. I think with knowing that the Yankees have 5 days off, I think the Yankees are treating this from a rotation standpoint as keeping things pretty normal. So it's Severino versus Martin Perez in game 1. Then it's a doubleheader the next day. Jameson Taillon, we don't know the Texas starter yet for that one. And then it's Garrett Cole versus John Gray. And then the last game will be Domingo Germán versus former Yankee prospect Glenn Otto, who was involved in the Joey Gallo deal. So, like, when you look at stuff like that, it's it's good. It's a pretty normal series, but I do think that there will be things that happen in the bullpen that you wouldn't normally see. And the lineups, I think, will be pretty weird too at times, especially with a doubleheader as well. But all eyes are on Aaron Judge. 4 more games, 3 more days to break Roger Maris's record. And I really hope he can hit number 62. Knowing Aaron Judge and the way the season's gone, I think he gets there. But now it legitimately gets to a point where it's interesting, where I think for the first time for me, I've never taken this for granted. Like, I always felt like this was going to be tough. Even when, he's on pace for 66. I always felt like it'd be tough. But you kind of felt like once he hit 60, at that point you felt like, okay, all he needs to do is hit 2 more homers in what? I guess 2.5 weeks. Well, he's only had 1. And now we'll see what happens in Texas. But I think that the stars are aligned. I do think that he will manage to get it done. Let's just look at tomorrow's matchup. I don't think he has good numbers off of Martin Perez, actually. I think, he's actually 1 for 9 off of Perez with no homers. So, although home run number 61 was off the lefty, Tim Meza. So maybe he needs it to go off a lefty. We'll see what happens. But again, the Yankees go to Texas. This is a makeup. This was supposed to be the first series of the season and got pushed back to now. So still some things to keep an eye on, Judge specifically, as the Yankees gear up for the playoffs. And we will see who they will play. We'll talk about that more next episode. Will it be the Cleveland Guardians, or will it be the Tampa Bay Rays, or maybe the Seattle Mariners? Right now, I think you're looking at a Cleveland-Tampa series, but that isn't locked in yet. So again, Yankees lose the series to the Orioles. Judge stuck on 61. Hopefully he's able to hit number 62 in Texas.